And the guy next to him is the quarterback of your Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Kind enough to stop by and join us in studio here on this Monday as we get ready for training camp. Good to see you.
Good to see you, boys. It's been too long.
It has been too long.
What were you saying, 6 years maybe or something like that?
Yeah, it was whatever the offseason was when you had put on 15 extra pounds so you could absorb a beating.
Yeah.
Say it like muscle, right? Not like you just got fat and just put on the weight.
It was a little fat, but a little muscle,
It's okay.
Somewhere in between the two.
So, first of all, let's talk about the offseason because you're getting ready to head to camp. Another offseason of change for you. So what has been the acclimation process with Arthur Smith, new offense? Like, how different is it now as opposed to doing it early in your career?
Well, I think it's definitely easier now, just from the experience that I've had. And Arthur's kind of a unique mix of guys that I've worked with at different points. So there's a lot of similarities between what I did with Kyle and Matt LaFleur when they were here for a couple of years. And then he also worked for Mike Mularkey, who was, a big influence on, the first 4 years of my career. So there's a little bit of carryover between those two. Obviously, some new things that you have to learn, some different terminology. But for the most part, at this point in my career, I feel like I've got a pretty good feel for, what those teams are trying to do, how to run protections, those kind of things. I feel pretty comfortable.
Whenever there's a new OC or a head coach who's the play caller, I'm consistently told, like, his first question, anybody worth the salt, is go to the quarterback. What do you do well? Did you have that conversation, or did he show up already knowing what Matt Ryan's game is?
Yeah, no, we definitely had conversations about that at the beginning. And I think a lot of the things that they want to emphasize and what he believes in are a lot of things that I do well. And so I think that, that marriage, that working relationship will be solid. But he's been really open to my input. He's got his belief system for sure. But I think any play caller, wants a feel for what the guys are comfortable with and what they feel like they can excel with. And, I think he's done a great job of that so far.
The other part of your offseason, and Matt Ryan's with us in studio, Falcons quarterback. The other part of your offseason was the unknown if they were going to take a quarterback. Like, I don't know how much you were in on the know or how much you have conversations, but all the mock drafts are out there for months. It's Justin Fields, and it's this quarterback or that one. So take me through the final days before the draft for you, and how did it come? How did it happen on your end of things?
Yeah, I mean, they were really upfront with me from the start, basically saying we're going to evaluate everyone during this process, both on our roster in the draft, and we're going to, draft whoever we feel like is going to, best help our football team moving forward. And so, I kind of appreciate that at this point in my career, just, lay it out there. We're going to try and, evaluate the best players, put the best players out there. And so, I wasn't surprised that they didn't take a quarterback at that point, but I didn't really know, I think. I mean, you look around the league, you never really know who somebody's going to draft. And so you prepare yourself to get ready, to go play the best you can the next year. And whoever that is that comes in, you try and make it work with them. But, I was obviously excited when they took Kyle Pitts.
What's the best Calvin of a possibility, like the blue sky, if he turns out to be the best Calvin Ridley possible?
Shoot, I mean, I think, the ceiling for him is high. You talk about that blue sky. I mean, he can, he's continued to get better every year he's been in the league. And I think, his production shows that. His numbers definitely show that. But I think he's gotten to a point where he understands what it takes for him to get ready to play week in and week out, from a recovery standpoint, from a mental standpoint. And you can just see that, in the way he plays, the freedom with which he's playing now. He's a lot more comfortable than he was the first 2 years. So, I hate to put numbers on anything, but I think he can be super productive for us for a long time.
So it's not easy losing Julio. It never would be. But you have some experience in whether it was the end of Roddy's time or Tony Gonzalez. This is a little different. Julio gets traded to a different team. So how weird has this transition been?
Yeah, I mean, it's strange the first time you see him in, Titans gear, going out there. And for that first practice, he showed up because he's been such a huge part of my career for the last 10 years. And I love him as a teammate. He was incredible in the building. I'm so fortunate to have played as long as I did with him. But the train keeps moving. And that's the one thing I've learned, in my 13 years of experience. When Tony Gonzalez leaves the building, you still got to play games that September. And when Roddy White, finished up his time, you still got to go out there and find a way to convert third downs in tough physical matchups. And so, that'll be, part of our challenge, as an organization, as a team, is to find ways to be productive with the group that we have now. And, I'm excited about the group that we have. It's young. I think our team is very young, but, there's talent there. There's guys that are working hard. And, I'm excited about getting started here in a couple of days.
There was a story, I've told it before, Bobby Hebert talking way back in the day. He said his last 3 full seasons as a quarterback in the NFL, he's like, I didn't make one wrong read. He says, I knew everything. He says, ball wouldn't get there anymore. So what is the upside of this now, entering year whatever, 13, 14? What do you know now that's checkers that used to be chess?
Yeah, I think, it's going against defenses, recognizing coverage, recognizing blitzes, recognizing those kind of things, and being able to get the ball out of your hand. And knowing, within the scheme that you're doing, you don't have to be perfect all the time. You have to know where your outlets are. And when they get you on something, let's not make a bad situation worse. I think that's where I've gotten better, further into my career, is not making some of those mistakes that kind of compound. If they get you, they get you. Get it out, take a sack, do what you have to do, but just, don't make a bad situation worse. I'm lucky to, be playing at a different time than Bobby. In that, the rules of getting hit and those kind of things are different. And so I think we're in a much better spot now at our position in the league to stay healthy, to make sure that ball's actually getting where you want it to go. I feel like I'm at a really good place right now.
So let's follow up on that. Matt Ryan's with us in studio with Chuck and Chernoff. So I went over the numbers the other day with Chuck, and I'm like, Ryan, the last 3 years has thrown it over 600 times a year. It was like 608, 616, 626. And I don't think it's coincidence. Your best year, your MVP year, you only threw it 534 times, but it was the most efficient. You had the best statistical numbers, but you also had a top 5 run game. And you've always been a proponent of, we need to run the football, and whether it was a factor of getting down in games or just getting away from it too early. What do you see? Do you think the difference will be with Arthur and what he wants to do with the run game?
I mean, it remains to be seen. Games shake out in different ways too. And so, a lot of times when you're playing from behind, you're throwing to get back into those games. I think, one thing we did in 16 a lot was play from in front, and that allows you to kind of dictate what you want to do offensively, whether it be, run the football or, use your play action pass. I think that's part of it. I think the commitment from the top down, though, I believe Arthur Smith believes in running the football and is going to find a way to make it work. And I really believe Kyle Shanahan is very much that way.
Which doesn't get talked about enough.
100%.
Kyle's run offense is always either top 5, top 10 at every stop he's been at.
Absolutely. And there's a real belief to it too, that even, when you get into games and things don't go the right way in the first quarter or two, you don't abandon some of that. You just keep going. You keep sticking with it. And those 3 or 4 yard runs in the first quarter turn into maybe 5 or 6 in the second. And then all of a sudden you're in your third quarter and you're breaking out and you're running, getting 15 yards, on some of those wide zone schemes that just crease. And so, every coaching philosophy, every play caller is different. I believe that, Kyle was very committed to it. I believe that Arthur is very committed to it as well. And his track record in Tennessee, kind of shows that.
What kind of eyeballs you put on Kyle Pitts so far?
Yeah, I've been able to work with him quite a bit, which has been good. Before he even got here, just watching him on Saturdays, you're like, man, this guy's different.
He'd be fun.
Yeah, he'd be really fun. He's a different guy. And so, the first day he showed up, he's humble, he's hardworking, he's eager to learn, and he's young, and it's funny, he kind of grew up outside the Philadelphia area, similar to where I grew up, and he was like, man, your high school team, is not very good. And I was like, well, man, in 2001, 2002, we were okay, we were pretty good. And he's like, yeah, man, but I was only one back then. I can't remember that. I'm like, oh, man, this is
it's
good.
happening. It's happening.
All right, Kyle, 20 years old.
You're that guy now.
No doubt. Yeah, it changes quickly.
Let me buy you a beer in a couple of months.
Yeah. This fall, when you turn 21, we'll have your first beer.
It's funny you say that. So we've been doing sports talk in this town now for 2 decades, right? And you see the same conversations applied to different personalities different. And I said to Chuck while we're watching Trey Young, I go, this is rinse and repeat. Like it went from Trey, the same thing with Matt. It went from, was Matt Orth a top 3 pick? Okay, check that one off. All right, but is he a franchise quarterback? Okay, check that one off.
Seasons.
Right, can he win the big game? Like, we did all that stuff.
Have you noticed the moving target on your career?
With Trey Young is kind of going through
sure.
that now. It's different athletes, same story.
I'll tell you, that's what you want, right? You don't want it that you missed the first check, right? You weren't worth the 3rd pick or whatever. And Trey's been fun to watch. I mean, this playoff stretch, I know he was beat up, but it was fun to watch, man. Him put them on his back and let it rip, and he's a competitor, and I certainly think he's proven that he's worth it.
So, but you were very good. At least you put forth it. I don't know if I believe you or not, but very good about making people believe you didn't pay any attention to the stuff. Like you're in the building, and I believe sometimes you guys have those weird schedules. You're in there at 6, you're in there till nightfall. You don't pay attention. Like this new age. Like Trey's 23.
Yeah.
He's on social media a ton.
Right.
He's making a list. He's like, I remember what your apology better be as loud as your criticism, that type of thing. Like, could you have handled it that way back in the day?
I think everybody's different, right? And so whether you're a guy that listens to everything, puts the bulletin, board material together and you kind of cross things off, that's not really who I am. It's never really who I've been. I think it's increasingly difficult to be the way I am now, right? Like, all this stuff didn't exist in 2008. I only had to put up with you guys, right? Like the talking heads, right? So but it is different. And there's a lot more scrutiny that goes with it. And it's a lot more constant. I think there's always levels of scrutiny that were going on at different times, but it's just constant. It's nonstop and you're getting it from every direction. And I give these young guys, who are able to handle it that way a lot of credit. It doesn't work for me. I'm not that kind of way. I kind of like to do my own thing and stay in my own lane, but I'm always impressed by the young guys that can.
What's in the rear view, that's in the rear view. We move forward. However, I don't even know Dan Quinn's a grown man. He could defend himself. I find I'm the only one in the room going, Will Muschamp hired him, an NFL team hired him, Pete Carroll hired him. So much of the conversation got caught up on either sayings or slogans or T-shirts or just goofy stuff like that. And I keep saying, no, he's a good football coach. Throw a bone here.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Dan's a really good football coach. It's a hard league, it really is. And there are lots of things that, can cause, things to get sideways quickly, and we had, some weird stuff happen last year too, in terms of how the ball bounced in certain ways. And momentum's, probably even more so in the NFL than any other level, right? More so than college, high school, whatever. Momentum's huge.
Oh, God, lose your opener and your season's on the brink.
Exactly. That's kind of how it feels or the questions you're answering. And so he's a great football coach. It just didn't work out. And that's part of this business. He took us to a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, we didn't win it, but that's the same coach, right? Like he knows what he's doing and he'll do a great job in Dallas. And I loved him. I love playing for him. It's a huge part of my career. Some of the best years of my career were with him, and I'm extremely, thankful for his time here.
So I want to ask you about Greg Knapp in a moment, but like thinking back to 2016, it's only 5 years ago. Look at the roster turnover. I mean, the NFL is notorious for this anyway.
Yeah.
So you're here, and like Deion Jones is here and Grady, but I mean, it is the NFL to a T. What's happened to your locker room the way it's happened to so many others?
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to think. I don't really think there's anybody else on the roster who was here then, and so there's good and bad to that, right? Like you don't have that same chemistry maybe that you had with some of the guys that you played with for a long time, but you've got new, young, hungry guys that are impressionable, and you can hope shape and push them in the right direction. So I'm excited about it. I've kind of been through this wave a couple of times where your team was older, more veteran, and all of a sudden it becomes young, and you can get it going, pretty quickly with some of these young guys. I'm excited because I think we're talented, and that part of it excites me.
We got to let you go, but I want to ask you about Knapp. I know it shocked everybody. You had a long relationship with him, and I saw on social media you wanted to make sure you reached out to him and his family.
Yeah, obviously devastated. I got a call, I think Saturday night from my backup quarterback the last 5 years, Matt Schaub, who was really, really close with Greg. They were together at 3 different stops during their career. And he kind of filled me in. And really, you're just, when something like that happens, you're just in shock, You can't really believe it could happen. But he was one of the best guys you'll ever meet. I mean, just a lot of fun, kept things in perspective, really well. And, I enjoyed being around him, learned a ton from him, and just wish, his family the best during this time. That's got to be extremely difficult for them.
Yeah, well said. Hey, listen, we wish you nothing but the best in this 17-game season, which still sounds odd to say.
Enjoy that.
We get used to one more hits on the quarterback.
Are you going to play at all in the preseason, or do you just skip to the regular season now?
I think that's a good question. I'll let you know tomorrow. I got to find out.
If we see Matt in uniform, then he'll be told he's going to play. Hey, it's good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, boys.
Appreciate it, my friend. Have a great camp and a great season. There's the quarterback of your Falcons, Matt Ryan, kind enough to join us here in studio during our